everybody is completely wrong about this bike. The V-Rod is a failure because when it came out, Harley riders thought it wasn't a real Harley, and everybody else saw the Harley logo on the tank and thought that it was slow and couldn't turn. In fact, people still think that because that's the power of prejudice. People think they know what a bike is all about, but they don't, and that's why we can't have anything nice. See, this right here, people, this is why we don't have the Bronx. People thought that the V-Rod was bad and dumb, and nobody bought it, but no! You gotta have your big street glide, road glide. Oh no, I can't keep up with my sport bike, even though it's got 120 horsepower. Where was I? Oh yeah, Harley riders poo-pooed the V-Rod because they thought it couldn't do big miles and because it wasn't air-cooled and it idled too high. Quick sidebar, Ducati actually ran into a very similar issue with the V4 because diehard Ducatistas hated the fact that it didn't sound like a V-twin, so they had to change the idle to make it sound more V-twin-esque, so it's not just Harley that has this issue. And despite the V-Rod putting the smackdown on just about every other cruiser and keeping up with naked bikes of the day, the sport bike people wouldn't try it because they thought that if they touched a Harley Davidson, they'd turn into a pirate or suddenly sprout assless chaps. And Mario, you better not have a picture of assless chaps on the screen right now. So in an effort to prove everybody from the last 20 years wrong about the V-Rod, I decided to take this 2006 Street Rod out to the Twisted Sisters. It's basically our Tale of the Dragon, but instead of being a piddly little 11 miles, the Twisted Sisters are just under 100. And throughout the years, there have been hundreds of crashes out there, some of them fatal, and mostly because people are speeding through the corners and road conditions are questionable in a lot of places. There's even a restaurant there called the Bent Rim Grill with parts on the walls from a bunch of different wrecks, like our Tree of Shame. It's also several hours from Austin, so we're going to be testing both the highway touring capabilities as well as the twisty road performance on the V-Rod. Oh, and before I forget, today is the last day you can get entered to win this bike. You have less than 12 hours left, so click that link down in the description to get entered. I partnered with Fan of Them to give this bike away, and they're a veteran-owned company whose sole goal is helping creators make cool content. By entering to win, you're helping me do just that, and one lucky person out there is going to be legally obligated to come pry this bike out of my hands because I really don't want to give it away. But I have to. They said I had to. I actually asked them if I could just keep the bike, and they said no, that would be against the rules. So it's got to go to one of you guys. So click that link down in the description below to get entered to win. Again, that's ending tonight at midnight, so get at it. And now let's hit the road.
Alrighty folks, welcome to the Devil's Backbone. This is 32, FM 32 I think, or Ranch Road maybe, I don't remember. But yeah, this is the Devil's Backbone, one of the, you know, kind of fun twisty sections of this section of road. It's also pretty cool because you can see all the way around through here. It's one of the highest points in Como County, I think. Well, we did about 80 miles and I put 2.2 gallons in the tank, so I had a lot left. I'm getting a little under 40 miles to the gallon, just cruising on the highway. So yeah, this is a 5-gallon tank, so take, I don't know, half a gallon off for the fuel pump displacement and another half gallon off for safety, and I was probably at about a half tank, so plenty of distance. And yes, I do want a receipt.
Well, we made it, and that's the Airbnb back there. That's a, they call it the tree house. It's got, you know, some river access down there, and nice and quiet outside of Bandera. There's my wife's NK, and there's the Harley. I know that we didn't do a ton of big miles to get out here, 140 miles out. That's not a huge distance, but by the time we're all done with this weekend, you know, we'll be upwards of 500 or 600 miles probably. And again, all those guys who are like, oh, the V-Rod can't cruise. Bullshit, man. Bullshit. It's a great cruiser. It's comfortable. It's got a ton of power. It's a great cruiser. So, blows my mind that people are like, yeah, you can't do big miles on a V-Rod. You can do big miles on a friggin' Grom if you wanted to. It's just all about, you know, how much self-flagellation you're willing to put yourself up with. So now we're gonna go get some dinner, run through town, and probably get some snacks to fill up the Airbnb with, so that when we get back tomorrow, we're not ravenous, and a little bit of breakfast food for the morning. And then we're gonna go hit the Sisters, and we're gonna prove the sport bike guys wrong, because we're gonna show how well that thing can corner.
Alrighty, welcome to morning of day 2. It's kind of a cloudy and cooler morning, which is exactly what I was kind of hoping for. It's always nice when you're planning to do a long day of riding to start in a little bit cooler weather, so you don't, you know, get super worn out right at the beginning of the day. Speaking of the day, what we're going to go do is we're going to ride into Bandera, which is actually a little bit the wrong direction. And then we're going to grab some chow and hit the road. To get into the Twisted Sisters, you actually have to ride out 337, which is one of the Twisted Sisters. One thing I do feel obligated to say, as we're, you know, getting rolling this morning too, is the Twisted Sisters, especially on the weekends, are some of the most heavily patrolled roads in Texas, because there's signs everywhere counting motorcycle fatalities, because a lot of guys come out here and they're not prepared to actually ride a twisty road, and you know, they just undershoot corners all the time, or they just run wide and get hurt, because a lot of them actually have some exposure. We may be seeing some cops, and we may not be doing a ton of super quick riding. But we're gonna ride over to one of my favorite places in town. It's this little Mexican joint called Mi Pueblo. They do a great breakfast, and it's dirt cheap. You can get like huevos rancheros for $6.
I was wrong. The huevos rancheros are $9 now. Thanks, Joe Biden.
Come on.
Alrighty, people, welcome to the small town of Leakey, spelled leaky because Texas can't spell no good. So this is the south east corner of the Twisted Sisters right here, and this is one of the big stopping points, as you can tell by all the bikes around. We just went and got some gas. The loop itself is about 100 miles. Camp Wood is the next town, and that's where we turn right to start going north. The way that I always like to do the Twisted Sisters is I like to start here in Leakey, do a loop, and then come back up here, because on the left is the Bent Rim Grill, which is kind of an institution down here. Pretty mediocre food, I'm not gonna lie, but you know, it's just a fun stop off because it's filled with a bunch of bikers, and you see all kinds of cool different bikes. Lots of Harleys and stuff out here. So this is the Bent Rim right there, and that's where we'll be stopping in for lunch. All these guys, these are probably the retirees in here for lunch, although there are some sport bikes and an Africa Twin over there. We'll be there in probably about 2 hours, and then we may or may not do the loop the other way. So, you know, depending on how you're feeling, because it actually takes about 60 miles to get from Bandera to Leakey to get started on the Sisters. And by the way, in case you're curious, this is 337 right here. We're going to pick up 335 and then 336. And those are the 3 Twisted Sisters. Welcome to Camp Wood. This is the southwest corner of the Sisters, and we're gonna head north up to Rock Springs. This is always one of the gas stops that I normally do, depending on whether or not I stop in Lakey. Because the rest of the way, there is no gas. You just gotta make sure you've got at least 100 miles worth of range in the tank, which we do, so hang a right and head north. Alrighty people, welcome to 335 and the northern leg of the Twisted Sisters. Usually when you're actually on the proper farm roads themselves or the ranch roads, you can open it up just a little bit. But again, through these straights, the sheriffs love to sit under these trees. I still love it whenever somebody says that the V-Rod can't turn, or that Harleys in general can't turn, or that the V-Rod's too heavy to be fast. Welcome to 336, people. This one's kind of interesting because it's all open ranch land through here. So we're going to be going over a lot of cattle guards because it's just wide open space up here. This one is a little less uphill, downhill. You get like that sign said, 25 miles of loose livestock. And it's highly unlikely we go through here and don't see at least a handful of cows. So believe it or not, this is all still open ranch land right here. We're still within that 25 miles of possible cow or livestock related whoopsie daisies. And we actually saw one cow. I didn't have time to get the camera started in time, but yeah, there was one cow. So like I said, impossible that you don't get at least one.
Cow. I gotta go, Julia. We got cows. Another cow.
And just like that, we're back into Leakey. And in case you're curious, which one is it? Which one is it? It's this driveway right here on the right. This is where the drug lab is. So in case you're curious, don't stop here. That's where they cook the meth. And so we did about 96.3 miles from the gas stop. So that gives you an idea of how big the loop actually is. So it's really easy to do it twice. And it's chow time. Well, folks, as you can see, the bent rim is a poppin'. This is a super, super popular place to hang out. We've got an Audi group here. We've got a whole bunch of, Harleys and stuff. There's some Z guys over there, Miata crew. Lot of people come hang out here. This is like the spot. Again, food's not great, but who cares? It's fun. Alrighty, lunch has been accomplished, and now we are on a fresh full tank. We're gonna roll past the meth lab again. Bye bye meth lab. And now we're gonna do the loop the other way. So right up here we're gonna hop back on 336 and we're gonna head out the 337 on the way back. So it's never really possible to do the Sisters in order. You either do 336, 335, 337, or 337, 335, 336. Either way, we're gonna go have another like 2 hours of fun before rolling back. I'm actually gonna see, let's see. It's 2:15 now. I'll check when we get to Leaky again, how long it takes for us to go. It's just sort of your average pace. We're not going quick. We're just kind of cruising and having fun. I'm at basically 150 straight miles of, you know, these mixed twisties here, and I've definitely come to feel a lot more about how the V-Rod wants to be ridden. That's one of the cool things about this section of, you know, road, is because you have these breaks between the twisties and you've got these wider twisties and stuff, and then it gets tighter. The bike really kind of impresses upon you how it wants to get ridden, and the V-Rod is no different. I've learned that this is definitely a kind of, it's a mix between what I like to call a momentum bike and you know, an exit bike. But here's a good example, right? Just let my momentum carry me through, get onto the maintenance throttle, and then power out. It just works so well like that because it's so composed on the side of the tire. But it does tend to be just a little bit slower because, again, that wheelbase is so long on this bike that it tends to be a little bit slower to get online. So when I'm riding a bike like that, I tend to just like sort of coasting into a corner, picking up maintenance throttle, and then powering out. But you know what really helps the Harley more so than anything else going down a twisty road like this? You know what really helps? The fact that this ain't a racetrack, man. This is just a street. It's a fun street, but it's just a street. There's no prize at the end of it, so could I go faster? Sure. Maybe if I was on a naked bike, I could be doing an average of 70 miles an hour instead of 65. So to you guys out there who are reading those comments and you're like, oh man, I guess I'm slow and I'm nervous about going out and riding with a group because I don't want to be that guy. Don't listen to the keyboard warriors. I have learned that the one weakness of this bike's setup, though, is the suspension. The suspension is a little bit harsh over some of the, you know, hidden bumps where you can't see them coming, like right there. Yeah, it'll punch you in the spine real good. But yeah, I'm gonna continue to have some fun out here. We've got let's see, about 30 miles left on this section, and then we're heading back into Lakey. We'll ride through Lakey and into Medina and Bandera, and then back to the Airbnb. And then I'm not sure what we're gonna do for dinner. We may end up going to a place that I saw yesterday called Don Chepe's, do Mexican for lunch, or breakfast and dinner. But Tex-Mex is the bomb. Changed my mind. Alrighty people, we're back in Leaky, and it took us an hour and 47 minutes to go all the way around, and we were just kind of cruising and poodling, so you could definitely do this pretty easily in a day. Do the full loop one way and then go the other way. But now is the long journey back into Bandera. This is the best section of 337 right here. You're climbing up out of Lakey and into, I think it's either Utopia or Vanderpool. But the first time I came through here, like the very, very first time, my first trip out to the Sisters, I was following a guy on, I think it was a Suzuki Boulevard, the classic one, the bagger one. and he went down literally right in front of me. It's like he just gave up turning halfway through. He was just, you know, the corner kept going and he didn't. And he ended up had to lay her down styles. And yeah, I was filming the whole time, and I was just like, it was the first time I ever saw somebody go down in front of me. Like, he was fine, you know, just a little bit roughed up, nothing major. Like I said, he ended up breaking his clutch lever, so he had to ride back on no clutch. You know, his clutch was shifting everywhere, and having to be super careful with, you know, how he approached stops and stuff. Blew my mind. I you know, had never seen a motorcycle crash in slow motion before. I mean, that was the first crash I'd ever seen, period. But, you know, it was a very interesting experience. And he didn't drag boards or anything. Later on, he ended up claiming that his steering locked up, and he couldn't explain it properly to anybody. It's just like his bike wouldn't turn left anymore. And then my buddy, who's a mechanic, went out and turned the handlebars, and he was like, turns just fine. But it just goes to show these corners can catch you out, man, if you're just not ready for it. But, you know, just like that, we're through the quote-unquote tough bit, and now it's just nice cruisy sections. That's what makes this fun, is you have your twisty stuff, and then you have a minute to relax. And then you can see it up there, more twisty stuff. Oh, and just like that, it is now day 3. We are, if you're curious, we're about 510 miles in. That's kind of the rough number right now, which that's a good bit for the Twisted Sisters. Probably by the end of the day, we'll be pushing 650 by the time we're all said and done. You know, that's a solid weekend ride. I know there's going to be some keyboard warriors out there who are like, I do that in a day. That's not even a big ride for me. Okay, pal. Good for you. For me, the reality is, once you start getting over like 150 to 200 miles per day, like yesterday we did almost 300 miles. Towards the end of that 300 miles, it was just getting so exhausting. You know, you stop having fun after mile marker 200 usually. And then, you know, you're just riding to get it done. You know, we've got 140-ish, maybe 150 miles to get back home. And that's no big deal. You know, I'm in no kind of way about it. I'm not sad, I'm not disappointed that I got to be back on the bike. I'm completely fresh to do it again because I haven't been running myself ragged. It does also speak to how easy the V-Rod is to ride for big miles, though. Even though we don't have a lot of wind protection, you know, my head is in clear wind all the time, which is really, really nice. But the bike itself is just so capable, and the motor is so potent, and you just get this nice rush of power. It's not peaky, it's not exhausting to ride. And I know some people are going to be like, well, if you're going to be cruising for big miles, you want your feet out here. But do you? If your feet are underneath you, you're actually going to be using your legs to keep your weight up off your tailbone. So the seat actually is more comfortable because you have less weight sitting on the seat. But before we get back on the road, for reals, we're gonna stop one more time and grab breakfast in town. We've got a couple of people over there who are getting ready to hit the sisters this morning. But unfortunately for us, we're heading back home. We got stuff to do. So, yeah. Gonna grab some breakfast and then put down another 150-ish miles and be back in the garage.
And like any good road trip, we end up back where we started. This is more or less a video just to go and show you to stop gatekeeping road trips for yourself, because that's the thing I see most often. There's a bunch of people out there who are gonna say that what I did was not a road trip because I didn't go very far, I didn't leave the state of Texas, I didn't go to the next city over, whatever. There's always gonna be somebody out there on the internet who said you didn't do it right because you didn't do it the way that they did. And that's a bunch of bullshit. The only thing that matters is that you and your friends or you by yourself are going out and you're having fun, you're having an adventure on your bike, and making some memories, because that's all that this is about. Don't listen to the dipshits and the loud voices. They're just a minority of people out there who are trying to tell you that you're not doing the best thing possible because they do it the right way. Doesn't matter. As long as you had fun, you had fun. Now, I do want to take a second to talk about the V-Rod itself. That thing absolutely crushed. It was easy on the highways. It was fun in the corners. The brakes worked great. The suspension, while a little bit stiff, was totally fine for a long cruise. And honestly, it proves the point that I wanted to make, and that's that kind of everybody poo-pooed this bike for no good reason. The sport bike people who said it couldn't turn, they're wrong. The sport bike people who said it wasn't fast, they're wrong. The cruiser people who said it couldn't go the distance, they're wrong. I know I'm like 20 years too late for this, but all the people out there who said that the V-Rod couldn't get the job done, I don't know what they were talking about or what they're high on, man. To be perfectly honest, I would rather have the V-Rod in the garage than my V-Max for these kind of tours, because the V-Max has horrendous gas mileage. It's carbureted, but I mean, I suppose I could get a new one. Even still, the new V-Max wouldn't be nearly as much fun as the V-Rod was, because it's not as comfortable of a motorcycle. If Harley Davidson can do one thing, it's make a comfy bike that can go distance. It's just a shock that it's as good in a corner and a straight line as it is. But you could probably thank Porsche for that. And if you want to get yourself entered to win that V-Rod, click the link down in the description below. You have until midnight tonight Pacific Standard Time to get entered, so you only have a few hours left. This is one that I'm really, really gonna miss. I don't want to give it away, but I have to. They said I had to. Anyway, catch you guys in the next one. See you later.